So you're a creative professional, your computer is 3 or 4 years old, and it feels slow. You have the latest updates installed, and it feels like it's just slugging along. What gives? Well, today, I'm going to tell you 5 reasons why you should consider going for a Linux distribution as your next operating system for your current computer or the next computer that you buy. Starting off, Linux is great for anybody on a budget. If you're a creative professional, I don't know of any who don't have a certain budget constriction to which they have to abide from month to month. Yes, we would all love the latest and greatest in all technologies, but the truth of the matter is everything costs money. And when you're a creative professional, money doesn't grow on trees. You have to wisely spend what you make so that you can afford to market yourself, purchase the things that you need, keep your things that you have in good repair, and continue to offer the best product for your clients day in, day out, year after year. The last thing you want to do is throw down $5,000, $3,000, $1,000 on a new computer every 2 or 3 years. Linux can help you get past that. The way that Linux is able to do this is that it runs lighter and faster than traditional Windows or Mac OS environments. Because the kernel is a lighter kernel. It has fewer instructions it has to load up at the start of your session, and so things only load when you need them, for the most part. You can customize this to your advantage. You can load up programs that you use every day, 24/7, at the first time that you start your computer. But you can also make this as trim and as light as you need, so that when you do start up your computer, it starts up quickly and you can get into whatever you need to without anything being bogged down thanks to updates or new software code being released. Since we're talking about software, we might as well go ahead and point out that many of the programs that we use as creatives, especially if we're highly invested in the Adobe Creative Suite, are also available with open source counterparts on the Linux side. While Adobe doesn't support Linux operating systems with its Creative Cloud offerings, you can run them in a virtual machine with Windows if you want to, or, as I like to do it, I like to use many of the open source alternatives, which are free to use for my projects. Some of those include GIMP as a substitute for Photoshop, Audacity as a substitute for Adobe's Audition, Blender for 3D rendering and composting and in post-production. Did I say composting? Composite rendering, I meant to say. Inkscape for InDesign. The list goes on and on. Whether you're a music professional, a photo professional, or a video professional, there are high chances that Linux has you covered with programs to meet your needs that are very similar to the programs that you're coming from. In some cases, you have additional features, and in some cases, you don't have as many features. So it's up to you to really decide what you need and if it will work. For me, I find a lot of great use out of the open source products that I use. I rarely ever have to go back to the Adobe Creative Suite. Of course, those same programs on Linux oftentimes have counterparts for Windows or Mac OS, and so you can also try them before you commit to an operating system as well. Some features will not work across all platforms, and so you want to try those out with that knowledge. Remember how I talked about how Linux runs lighter and faster? That's also true of the older hardware that you may have. Suppose that you have an older workstation sitting at your home that you can't use because when you run Windows on it or Mac OS X, it's so sluggish. With Linux, that is less of an issue. Because of that light kernel, as long as you have decent hardware, you can get a great experience out of Linux software. Generally speaking, any kind of quad-core processor with a graphics card from the past 7 years or so and 8 gigabytes of RAM will get you started and put you in great stead to have a decently quick machine, much faster than you are used to it being. Finally, reason number 1 that you should try Linux as a creative professional is that you have nothing to lose. Linux can be installed to run side by side with your current operating system so that you can compare and contrast all the features that you use in both and which one does the job for you in the most efficient and effective way. Give yourself a couple of months to come from your current operating system to a brand new one. There is a slight learning curve, but once you overcome that initial learning curve, everything is very simple to navigate and migrate, and there is much more that is similar than there is that is not. Personally, I would recommend, if you're a creative professional, look into the Ubuntu Studio releases. I currently use a long-term support release so that I have 4 or 5 years of support baked into my release at one time. If you use a regular release, you only have a year to use that release with full support, and then you need to get a new one. Not a very difficult task, and it's a very simple thing to upgrade from one release to the next, and all of your files will remain intact. But it is a time drain for you, and you really don't want those. So a long-term support release is guaranteed support for 4 or 5 years. The downside of that is that you don't always get the newest, latest, and greatest software that a newer release that is not necessarily a long-term support release would get. It's very simple to install Ubuntu Studio. It will install alongside your current operating system with no harm to your operating system at all. You can access your Windows or Mac partitions from Linux as well, and you can work on existing projects. Many of your open source programs will not run the Adobe proprietary project files, so you might want to look at changing your proprietary project files to more open standard project files. Alright, that has been my 5 reasons for why a creative professional should look into Linux for their next operating system. Tell me what some of your reasons might be. Have you tried Linux before? Have you heard of Linux? If you have or have not even, leave me a comment below. Let me know what you liked about this video and if you're eager to try out some of the things we've talked about today. If you liked the video, please give me a thumbs up. That really helps. If you didn't like the video, well, just skip that button. Nobody looks at that anyway. Just kidding. And if you like my videos and you want to see the direction the channel is headed, please feel free to hit the subscribe button and to turn on notifications so that you don't miss future updates from me. In the future, I'm hoping to create some videos that will show how I use Linux in very specific ways for all of my creative processes, whether I'm making videos, editing photos, editing music, creating music, or doing a podcast. I can use Ubuntu Studio for all of that, and maybe in the future I will produce some videos that will show some of those things as well. I hope you found this video informative. Till next time, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.